Penguin, episode 8. Starts back with kind of a flashback from the past. Well, obviously a flashback. But it's his mom realizing that she notices that there's a flashlight in Oz's jacket pocket. She puts it together that Oz actually killed his brothers. So she's very aware that he isn't great. Yeah, so, but she's been going along with it for the rest of his life. And she's trying to deal with that throughout that. But as far as the beginning of the episode goes, she talks to Rex. Rex is the guy from the first episode. Well, Oz mentions him in the first episode where he's like the ideal gangster. He's what Penguin wants to live up to. He wants to live up to that, and he wants to be, the stand up, made man gangster guy or whatever. Well, his mom is very apprehensive about how she should go about everything after she realizes the truth. So she asks him, or actually, Rex asks her, what do you want to do about it? You can either use it to your advantage or you can get rid of him. So she's left with two options, and basically two options. And it comes down to she actually chooses to take the option to get rid of him, get him out of there. So she takes him dancing one last time at the same club that you've seen in one of the earlier episodes. Um, but then he gives her like a really compelling speech, like him as a child, the child version of him gives a compelling little speech. And during that speech, she realizes, like, she looks over and she realizes, or actually the audience should realize, that she's actually reliving this memory because Dr. Rush is using those lights from the early episodes to trigger these memories and to kind of hypnotize her into reliving some of this stuff. So she's talking about this whole stuff, like all these events that are going on. So Sophia and Rush are hearing all this. So they're learning about Oz's past and all that stuff. And she snaps back into the hypnosis and ends up not killing him because he makes all these proclamations of like grandiose ideas and stuff. It's like, I'm going to put you on the top level. I'm going to give you everything you want. Da 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 da. And if you've been following this series, as a lot of us have, you would realize that everything in the show kind of comes full circle. It does like a full circle thing. Anything at the beginning kind of pays off at the end. Not always the way that they want it to. But because the way that they did it, I think it all works. And, well, that's kind of the beginning of the episode. So let's get into it. Vic tries to rally all the gangs, all the different gangs that at the last episode Oz got together and convinced everybody to go into like the gang war with, just a sign of cracking open a beer with, if you saw my last video, I was pretty on point with that. All right. Anyways, they all show up there and they realize where the operation was blew up. Like Sophia sent a car down there, blew up the whole operation, like made a crater in that town. I can't even remember the name of it at the moment, but it just decimated it. And Vic's apt to go, like, he's like, let's go. We got to go find Oz. We got to go get him. And all the other leaders and stuff are not quite on board. And because he's kind of the low man on Oz's totem pole. Well, he's second in command, but they don't really respect Oz. So he's trying to rally them and get them to go. And he can't get them to go. And Link, which is the Yakuza underling, he's the second in command of the Yakuza, basically. He like punches him in the gut and he's like, kind of like, know your place or whatever. But there's a connection there later on. And yeah, they go from there. They all leave. All the gangster people leave, and Vic's just left there, not knowing what to do. He has to figure out what to do, and then it continues on. Oz doesn't want to give up that he's responsible for his brother's death, and there's a whole back and forth between him and Sophia, and his mom is kind of in and out of it, and she's going a little crazy. And it gets to the point where Sophia threatens Oz by wanting to cut off his mom's finger. I believe it's her pinky finger with like a what's it called? A cigar cutter. Like they start digging into her finger, and he is not willing to give it up. Like she already knows. She even straight up admits to him. It's like I already know, and he's still like adamant about like nope, nope. Just to show how ruthless he is. Like he actually doesn't really care. He does not really care. And once Sophia realizes that, she lets his mom go, and obviously she's incoherent, she's crazy, and she starts seeing his brothers as like ghostly figures, and she confronts him as just like basically like I hate you kind of deal. And it's like some of the last words she says to him is something in the context of like I hate you, like I never I should have killed you, whatever. She breaks a bottle and stabs him in the gut, and then she proceeds to have a stroke. And after she has a stroke, like Oz freaks out and like he breaks out of the bindings because, of course, he's only bound by like duct tape and I don't know. Yeah, it's just duct tape on a shitty wooden chair because that's how all bad guys do it. Anyways, that's what they do with it. He breaks free from that. He grabs his mom and he shoots his way out of there. He shoots a couple of the guards, and Doctor Rush protects Sophia. And they shoot at him, but they don't get him. And then when he's on his way out, like he shoots the driver who's doing drops, and it's just like boom, shoots him through the head. It's a cool little scene, but it's one of those scenes where it's like it feels rushed, even though this show or the last episode is like I believe it's 110 minutes, or no, it's an hour and 10 minutes, not 110 minutes. It's just like 70 minutes, and so it's a longer episode than that we normally get, and it does clarify a lot of things. Some of it feels a little rushed, and this is one of those scenes that feels a little rushed. Like, how do we get out of this? And yeah, so I mean, I still liked it. I got what they were doing with it, but it did feel like they were kind of running out of time, and they had to get something done with it. I still felt they did a good job with it. So Oz leaves. He has his mom. He's on his way out of there. Sophia's kind of baffled about what all happened, and then he's on his way to the hospital. After the hospital scene, Oz makes his way to City Hall, or I'm pretty sure it's City Hall, and from there he tells Vic to wait. And then it also shows Sophia is dealing with all the mob bosses. She gets all the people that technically Oz already had on his side. She gets them all to her house and is like, whoever can bring me Oz will get all of the territory because she's planning on leaving. She actually kind of wants nothing to do with all this. She just wants to, it basically seems like she just wants to kill Oz as like a last memento of like, this is the last thing that's in my past. I want to kill him. Whoever gets me him, you can have all my territory. I don't give a shit. She has all the money in the world, kind of deal, or enough to live off of, or whatever. That's what it's implied as. And then it's like it's a free for all. All the people go out. But if you remember what I said earlier, Link, who is the underling of Zhao, has a connection with Vic. So there's something that happens there, and that'll be the next thing. Vic takes Penguin to City Hall, and then he gets out and he tells him to wait there. He goes in and he goes into, I guess, what is called Chamber of Justice or something like that, where they got the gavel and everything. and he calls in his hookup who turned on all the lights. He calls him in there. He gives him the whole plan of what he wants to do. And it's kind of like the plan from Batman Returns, just a lot less clowny. Like Batman Returns is a little goofy, but it's awesome. It's a great movie. But the way that they do it in that one, it's like, oh, the kid from the sewer who came up with penguin fingers and da da da. This one's a little more realistic, and it starts to put that idea into motion. Like, oh, and is he going to become the mayor? And I've heard rumors that Sophia and Penguin are going to be in the next Batman movie, and this kind of confirms it because they're both still around at the end of it. But either way, I was there for it. This scene was really great, and yeah, it shows that he's going for a certain thing. But at the end of it, he does say one thing that's pretty specific towards the end of the episode, which he's like, the attorney guy, or I can't remember his name, but he's like, you got to be clean, and he's like, clean as a whistle, and that should give you a hint on to what kind of happens later. Sadly, after Penguin leaves City Hall, he's picked up by Zhao and Link. Actually, he's picked up by Link to be brought to Zhao. And they tell Sophia about it. So she's all happy, giddy, go lucky. She's like, cool, we got Oz. But one of her last acts of vengeance that she wants to do towards her dad is she wants to leave and burns down her mansion. So she's throwing all her dad's clothes out there, the watch, like all sorts of stuff, all the memorabilia. Like she's lighting everything on fire. She just literally burns that whole big ass mansion to the ground, or in theory to the ground. We only see her light it on fire and then she drives off. But because Zhao finds Oz, she's on her way to the airport. And when she shows up, she confronts Oz, who seems like he should be trapped, but he keeps giving this kind of like little smirk, and she picks up on it. And then Link, boom, shoots Zhao. And that's where the turning point is. So Oz has spoken to all the people, like the way that he spoke in the last episode where he gathered everybody. He wasn't actually speaking to the leaders. He was actually speaking to the underlings. He was speaking to the second in command, the people who haven't been noticed, the people who haven't got their shot. And it resonated with him, basically, is what it shows. And so Link kills Zhao, and then they kill the couple guards, as was Sophia, and then they let Oz take her off. And then it does a cutscene where it shows all like the second in commands killing all the leaders. So all the second in commands take over all the other gangs. So it shows that whatever Oz said resonated with them. So there you go. That's the start of that. But then Oz takes Sophia off to like a random little spot, and like they have a little conversation, and it seems like he's about to kill her. And I mean, what's worse than killing her? Sending her back to Arkham. So she closes her eyes. He's about to shoot her, and then she's closing her eyes for it's an undetermined amount of time, but it's enough time for him to get back to the car, drive off, and then the cops pull up and they arrest her for all the crimes. Because Oz also said that when he was in City Hall, I guess I didn't mention this, but that he was like, oh, I can prove that she did all this, or I can whatever. She's the reason for all this. So she's about to get thrown back into Arkham. So that's the end of Sophia as far as that goes. And then yeah, so Oz is king of the castle, or so he thinks and so he hopes. Oz goes back to the hospital where his mom's at after she's had the stroke. He goes there and he's feeling the top of the world, and all he wants is his mom's approval. And this is where he kind of loses. He actually kind of loses this whole thing. Even though in theory he wins, sort of, because he's like, I'm king of the castle. I'm the top. I'm the best. I'm the man. But his mom is left in a vegetative state after the stroke, and all he wants is her approval. He just wants her approval. So at the end, he still kind of loses because that's the only thing that he wants the whole time. He doesn't really care about anybody else. So after everything that he wanted, everything that he was going for, everything that he promised her, he can't really give it to her because she's not really there anymore. She's sort of there, but not really. It's like comatose vegetative state. So he still kind of loses. So he can't sit there and really appreciate it. And he breaks down. He starts crying. So Vic sees him in that state or whatever. And, he tries for the doctors or whatever. And it's just whatever. There's nothing to be done. Like she's gone. Like the stroke took her. It sucks because she was a great character. She was actually, she grew on me over all the episodes. She was a really good character. And the way that she stood up to Sophia, the whole not give a shit attitude, perfect. It's great. And it's like you wanted to think that she's the all for her son, and she technically still was, but it's like that's all she had left. But man, the way she went out, and then the last thing she ever said to him is basically like, "I hate you," and then he can't even redeem it by being like, "I won." I mean, he he lost. He kind of lost in the end. It was it's brutal. It's a brutal way to go out. So him and Vic go out and they're sitting on a bench. I don't know exactly where it's at. I don't know if it's outside the hospital or if it just happens to be a spot near the river. And Vic kind of confesses to him. He's like, "Hey, you're kind of like family." And this is where the whole thing about being clean as a whistle comes in. Because Penguin's like, "Nah, I get it, kid." And he's been his right hand man. He's been his second in command for literally basically the whole season. He goes to give him a hug, and then he starts choking him to death, which is so sad because Vic is such a good character. It's like one of the first characters that I can think of that DC introduced that wasn't an established character, that was a great character. And they just they choke him out. I have a feeling is because he's actually not in the Batman 2 movie. So they added him in the series before that movie was going to be about a thing. And they were just like, "Oh, well, we kind of we still got to get rid of your character, dude. I'm sorry." Even though, or they didn't know how everyone would react to him, but it was like, dude, he was one of the best characters. It was Sophia, Vic, and Penguin. Those were the three best characters of the show. And to take Vic out like that, it was just like, oh, you got to do our boy dirty like that. But sometimes one and done is good. Maybe if they would have went to a second season, they would have just turned him into a shitty character. So maybe not the best way to go out, but I enjoyed him throughout the whole season. And so yeah, that's how he gets to start clean as a whistle. But I mean, he kind of does him dirty even after that. He takes his ID, throws it in the river like he's nothing. Like it shows that he's just ruthless, and he never cared to begin with. And throughout all this season, you feel like he might. There's a little bit of sympathy there or something, but nope, nope, just right to the river, man. Oh, that sucked. That was a hard watch because I was just like, he was a great character. So I hope that that actor gets more roles because he killed it in this one. He was great. He was phenomenal. He really grew on me, and I don't know. I hope he gets more roles. I hope to see him in a lot more stuff. He was great. But then after that, it just basically it kind of does some type of a time jump. I don't know how much time is ahead of it because like technically he doesn't really have anything going at the end of that spot, but it shows that he attains the full penguin attire. Like he has the suit, he has the top hat, he has the cane. I don't think he actually puts the top hat on. It just shows that he's walking with it. But he does get his mom the high rise spot, but she's comatose in like a vegetative state, looking out. She starts crying. It's all sad, and then he's like, "Hey, mom, I did it," and then he like walks out. And then he goes to his madam girlfriend or prostitute girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. And she's literally dolled up like his mom, which was a little weird because it's like he's going to dance and then that's more than likely sleep with somebody who looks like his mom. Like I think they went a little overboard with that. Maybe they're trying to play on the whole Riddler thing where the incel bullshit or like, I don't know, online bullshit. They probably should have kept that out. But whatever. I guess it was kind of a through line throughout the whole episode or throughout all the episodes. Not a fan of that part. But then he's like, hey, who's going to stop us? And then I think this was a great thing that they did. And I think a lot of people saw either this coming or some form of this coming. I thought it was going to be in a news clip, but they cut outside of the building and they show like that epic Gothic style building. And then right off to the side, boom, the bat light, the bat signal. And I think that was a great way to end the series because it sets up for the Batman 2. It leaves a bunch of the characters that are open that are probably more important than sadly Vic. I mean, I would have liked to see Vic in it, but it was probably too much and he probably wasn't in the script. But yeah, so anyways, that's my Penguin episode 8 review. I tried to break it down as much as I could because also I wanted to test out the new mic and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If anybody watched this far, thank you. I'm going to play a stupid AI audio song that I was messing around with. So I don't know, check it out. It's not great. It's like a punk pop song. I'm not even into punk pop, but it's the only one that came out that sounded kind of funny. Anyways, thanks for watching. You guys are great. I'll catch you all later. Peace.
Penguin, why are you a dick? Had to go and kill our boy Pen. Penguin with a brutal idea to lock away Sophia. Who can stop you now? The bat signal.